"Your son disappeared here," said the girl in front of the locked cabin, "but they unlock it and discover something. Let me know what you thought of this story with a rating from 0 to 10 and comment what city you're watching from. I really want to know if you liked my story and get to know you better, so subscribe to my channel to support my work. I'm counting on your help." The rain beat against the windows of the small apartment in Riverwood as Ethan Miller woke up once again on the living room sofa, surrounded by the dry plants that Jessica had once tended with such care. At 43, the architect had grown accustomed to the lonely dawns and the silence that echoed through the halls where Leo's laughter used to fill every corner. It had been 3 weeks since the last court hearing that had sealed his fate, the loss of custody of his 7-year-old son. The apartment was filled with ghosts in every piece of furniture. The kitchen table still bore the marks of the drawings Leo would make when he came home from school, scribbles of cars and superheroes forever etched into the scratched wood. Ethan would run his fingers over these marks every morning, a painful ritual that connected him to the happy moments that now seemed to have happened in another life. Jessica had managed to convince the judge that he was a negligent father, that he spent more time on construction sites than at home. Her lies had sounded convincing in court, stories of nights when he supposedly came home drunk, of shouting and arguments that never happened, of a man she painted as violent and unstable. Ethan knew that behind it all was her addiction to online gambling. The nights lost in virtual betting houses while Leo slept alone. The truth was that Jessica had changed completely after discovering the betting sites. What started as innocent entertainment turned into an obsession that consumed their savings, her time, and her maternal attention. Leo often came home from school to find his mother glued to the computer screen, ignoring his basic needs like food and help with his homework. Ethan had tried to talk, to plead, even to threaten to cut off the internet access, but nothing worked. It was when he decided to file for a custody review that Jessica showed her true colors. She fabricated evidence, manipulated neighbors, and even photographed bruises she had inflicted on her own body, claiming domestic violence. Ethan's lawyer was inexperienced, relying too much on his word when he should have investigated her claims. In a few months, Ethan found himself empty-handed, authorized only for supervised visits that Jessica systematically sabotaged with excuses about Leo's non-existent illnesses. On that rainy Tuesday morning, as he prepared a coffee he knew he wouldn't be able to drink, Ethan heard a strange noise at the door. It wasn't the normal sound of a doorbell or the usual knocks. It sounded like scratching, as if a small animal were trying to get in. He hesitated for a few seconds, wondering if the loneliness was finally affecting his perception of reality. When he opened the door, he found a little girl no older than 4, soaked by the rain and shivering from the cold. Her dark hair was stuck to her thin face, and her large, dark eyes stared at him with a mixture of fear and determination that left him speechless. She wore an old t-shirt that was too big for her and rubber flip-flops that were clearly not hers. "Mister," the girl said in a weak but firm voice, "I know where your boy is." Ethan felt the world spin around him. "What? What boy? Who are you?" "Your son, Leo. He's in the old cabin on the Thompson farm." The girl wiped her nose with the back of her hand. "I saw him there. She told me not to tell, but I saw how you cry every night looking out the window." The child's words hit him like a lightning bolt. The Thompson farm was an abandoned property on the outskirts of Riverwood, a place he vaguely knew from having done some rural renovation projects in the area years ago. But what would Leo be doing there? And who was this girl who appeared like a ghost at his door? "How do you know my name? How do you know about Leo?" Ethan crouched down to her level, trying to process the impossible information he had just received. "I live nearby. I see you every night at the window, crying and looking at his pictures." The girl pointed to the apartment. "Grandma Eleanor takes care of him, but he's sad and asks for his dad," she said. You're a bad man, but I can see you're not. Eleanor. The name sounded familiar, but Ethan couldn't place where he had heard it before. His mind was in a whirlwind, trying to connect the fragmented pieces of information the girl had given him. If Leo was really at that farm, why would he be with an unknown old woman? And why would Jessica allow it? "What's your name?" he asked, noticing that the girl was starting to tremble more intensely. "Lily," she replied, rubbing her small arms. "Mr. Leo is sick. He coughs a lot at night and calls in for his daddy. You have to go get him." Ethan felt his heart race. If there was even a slight possibility that Leo was really in that place, he couldn't ignore it. But he also couldn't just run off based on the word of a 4-year-old child who had appeared out of nowhere. The implications were enormous. If it was true, it meant Jessica had lied about Leo's whereabouts. If it was false, he could be being cruelly manipulated. "Lily, are you sure it was Leo you saw? How do you know he's my son?" The girl frowned as if the question were obvious. "He looks like you, and he has a little scar right here," she pointed to her own forehead, from when he fell off his bike. "He told Grandma Eleanor that his daddy took him to the hospital and stayed with him all night." The detail of the scar made Ethan take a step back. Only very close people would know about that almost imperceptible mark that Leo had carried since he was 5, the result of a fall during a Sunday afternoon when they were playing in the park. Ethan had spent the entire night at the hospital, holding his son's little hand while he got stitches, promising he would never let him get hurt again. "You need to come with me now," said Lily, taking Ethan's hand with her icy little fingers. "Grandma went to town, and Leo is all alone. He was crying your name when I left." The urgency in the girl's voice and the detail about the scar convinced Ethan that, at the very least, she had actually seen Leo somewhere. He grabbed his car keys with trembling hands, threw a jacket over the t-shirt he had slept in, and followed the girl to the parking lot. The rain had subsided, but the sky remained heavy with dark clouds that promised more storms. During the drive down the dirt road that led to the Thompson farm, Ethan bombarded Lily with questions. She answered with the disarming honesty of children, telling him that she lived with her Grandma Eleanor in a small house near the abandoned farm, that Leo had arrived there many days ago, and that her grandmother had told her never to tell anyone about the boy. "Why doesn't your grandma want anyone to know about Leo?" Ethan asked, his hands gripping the steering wheel as he navigated the potholes. "She said that bad men want to hurt him, that we need to protect him." Lily swung her little legs on the passenger seat, which was too high for her. "But you don't seem bad. You seem sad, just like Leo." When they arrived at the property, Ethan saw that the Thompson farm had deteriorated significantly since his last professional visit years before. The main house was visibly abandoned, with broken windows and a partially collapsed roof. But there were signs of life in the small attached building that had probably served as a caretaker's house. Clothes hanging on a line, smoke coming from the chimney, and a well-tended garden in the side yard. Lily led him to a wooden cabin at the back of the property, a simple structure that Ethan didn't remember noticing on his previous visits. It was well maintained, with colorful curtains in the windows and a small flower garden at the entrance. When they reached the door, she hesitated for the first time. "Grandma's going to be mad at me," Lily whispered, looking at the house where she supposedly lived. "I'll take full responsibility," Ethan promised, his heart beating so hard he was sure the girl could hear it. "You're doing the right thing." Lily knocked on the cabin door 3 times, paused, and knocked twice more. A code. After a few seconds, Ethan heard small footsteps approaching from the other side of the door and a familiar childish voice that made his world stop spinning. "Lily, is Grandma Eleanor back?" It was Leo, his son's voice, a little hoarse than he remembered, but unmistakably the same voice that hummed children's songs during baths, that called him Daddy Hero before bed, that had been silenced from his life for 3 endless weeks. Ethan couldn't move, paralyzed between the overwhelming joy of having found Leo and the terror of what this discovery meant. The cabin door opened slowly, revealing Leo's pale little face. The boy had visibly lost weight in the 3 weeks of separation. His once chubby cheeks now seemed hollowed out, and his big eyes carried a sadness that broke Ethan's heart. When Leo saw his father, his expression changed from caution to astonishment, then to an explosive joy that made him run into his father's arms. "Daddy! Daddy!" Leo shouted, throwing himself against Ethan with a force that almost knocked him over. "I knew you'd find me. I knew it." Ethan hugged his son with a desperate intensity, feeling the small ribs through the loose t-shirt, inhaling the familiar scent of children's shampoo, mixed with the musty smell of the cabin. Tears flowed freely down his face as he caressed Leo's hair, checking if the boy was really there, alive and relatively well. My son, Ethan murmured, kissing the top of Leo's head repeatedly. "What are you doing here? How did you get to this place?" Before Leo could answer, Lily urgently pulled on Ethan's sleeve. "Mr. Grandma Eleanor will be back soon. She can't see you here." Ethan looked up and finally observed the inside of the cabin. The space was simple but cozy, with old but well-preserved furniture, a small makeshift kitchen in one corner, and 2 single beds covered with colorful handmade quilts. Toys scattered on the floor indicated that the children had played recently, and children's drawings decorated the wooden walls. "Leo, tell me what happened. How did you get here?" Ethan crouched down to his son's level, gently holding his small shoulders. "Mommy said you had gone away forever, and that a nice lady was going to take care of me," Leo answered, his voice choked with emotion. "She brought me here and said it was just for a few days, but it's been a long time, Daddy. Grandma Eleanor is nice, but I want to go home." The revelation hit Ethan like a punch to the gut. Jessica had deliberately handed Leo over to a stranger, lying to both her son and probably to this Eleanor. But why? What advantage would she have in hiding Leo instead of simply exercising the legal custody she had won? "What else? Did Mommy tell you?" Ethan asked, trying to keep his voice calm so as not to scare the boy. "That you hit her and that you drank a lot?" Leo frowned, confused. "But that's not true, right, Daddy? You never hit Mommy, and you only drank a beer sometimes watching the game." Ethan felt fury rise in his chest. Jessica had not only manipulated the judicial system, but had also poisoned Leo's mind with lies about his character. The boy was clearly confused, trying to reconcile the negative image his mother had painted with the real memories he had of his father. "None of that is true, son. I never hurt your mother, and you know I love you more than anything in this world," Ethan said, hugging Leo again. "We're leaving here now. We're going home." "You can't," Lily interrupted, agitated. "Grandma said that if anyone took Leo from here, bad men would hurt him badly. She said he's safe here." Ethan looked at Lily, trying to understand the complex dynamic that had been established. The girl clearly loved Leo like an older brother and genuinely believed she was protecting him, but there was something more to the story, something that didn't make sense. "Lily, where are your parents? Why do you live only with your grandmother?" Lily's little face darkened. "They left when I was a baby. Grandma Eleanor found me at the orphanage and brought me home. She said that Leo and I are special, that she needs to take care of us." The piece of the puzzle fell into place in Ethan's mind. Eleanor was a woman who collected vulnerable children, probably with good intentions, but who had been manipulated by Jessica into believing that Leo was in real danger with his father. Just then, the sound of an approaching car made Lily run to the window. Her little face turned pale when she saw who was arriving. "It's Grandma! She's back early!" Lily turned to Ethan, torn between panic and determination. "You have to hide." But Ethan had made his decision. I'm not going to hide. I need to talk to this woman and understand what's going on. Leo grabbed his father's hand tightly. Daddy, Grandma Eleanor said that if you came to get me, bad things would happen. She cried a lot when she said that. Before Ethan could answer, the cabin door opened, and a woman of about 68 entered carrying shopping bags. Eleanor Vance was a woman of medium height, with grey hair tied in a loose bun, and brown eyes that immediately filled with terror when they saw Ethan. "Oh my God," she whispered, dropping the bags on the floor. "How did he find this place?" "Grandma, he's Leo's dad. His real dad," said Lily, running to her grandmother. "He's not bad like you said. He just wants his son back." Eleanor took a few steps back, instinctively shielding the children behind her body. "Sir, you can't be here. The boys. Mother told me everything. You are violent. You drink too much. This boy is safe here." "Mrs. Vance," Ethan said, holding his hands up as a sign of peace, "I don't know what stories Jessica told you, but she lied. I never hit her, never neglected my son. She fabricated false evidence to take Leo from me in court." "That's exactly what a violent man would say," Eleanor retorted, but there was a hesitation in her voice that did not go unnoticed by Ethan. "Then explain one thing to me," said Ethan, sitting on the floor to appear less threatening. "If I'm so dangerous, why did Jessica hand my son over to a stranger instead of exercising the custody she legally won? Why hide Leo here instead of simply raising him at home?" The question made Eleanor falter. It was obvious she had never considered this inconsistency in Jessica's story. She said you were threatening to come after her, that it was safer for the boy to be away until things calmed down, Eleanor replied, but her conviction was clearly shaken. "Grandma," said Leo, coming out from behind her, "Daddy never hit Mommy. I lived with them. I saw everything. It was Mommy who was on the computer all the time playing those games. It was Daddy who made food for me when she forgot." The innocence in Leo's words was like a spear piercing Eleanor's defenses. The woman looked at the boy, then at Ethan, and for the first time since he arrived, seemed to truly consider that she might have been deceived. "Do you have children, Mrs. Vance?" Ethan asked gently. "I did," she replied, her voice breaking. "I lost my son in an accident 15 years ago. He left a boy, my grandson Lucas, but my daughter-in-law blamed me for what happened and never let me see the child again." The pain in Eleanor's voice explained a lot. She was a woman who had lost her chance to be a grandmother and who probably saw in Leo and Lily an opportunity to fill that void. Jessica had exploited that emotional wound, manipulating the old woman's protective instincts. "Mrs. Vance, I understand your pain," said Ethan, his voice filled with genuine empathy. "But Leo is my son. I love him as much as you loved your grandson. It can't be right to separate a child from the father who loves him." Eleanor sat down heavily in a chair, her hands trembling as she looked at Leo. "But his mother said so many terrible things. Said you drank and got violent, that you hit her in front of the child." "I can prove those are lies," said Ethan, taking his phone out of his pocket. "I have medical records, witnesses, evidence that she faked the domestic violence. I can show you the utility bills that prove I was always at home taking care of Leo while she spent nights out. At that moment, Lily did something unexpected. The 4-year-old girl positioned herself between Ethan and Eleanor, her big little eyes moving between the two adults. "Grandma, I saw him crying through the window every night. Bad men don't cry for a child like that. And Leo is sad here. He draws his daddy every day and asks when he can go home." Lily's words echoed in the silent cabin. Eleanor looked at her granddaughter, then at Leo, who nodded in confirmation of the girl's words. "It's true, Grandma Eleanor," said Leo, approaching the woman who had cared for him for weeks. "I like you, but I want to go home with my daddy. I miss my room, my toys, my school. Eleanor began to cry silently, tears streaming down her wrinkled cheeks. "I just wanted to protect you. I've lost so much in my life. When that woman brought me Leo, she said I was saving a child. I thought I was finally doing something good." Ethan approached slowly, and to everyone's surprise, knelt in front of Eleanor. "You did do something good. You took care of my son when I didn't know where he was. You protected and loved him, even based on wrong information. That doesn't take away from the value of your heart." Ethan's admission broke Eleanor's last resistance. She looked into his eyes and, for the first time, saw not the violence Jessica had described, but the genuine pain of a father separated from his son. What did she want in return for him? Eleanor asked, suspecting there was more to the story. "What do you mean?" "His mother came here yesterday. She said if I took the boy to another state, she would give me enough money for me and Lily to live well forever. She said it was the only way to keep him truly safe." The revelation left Ethan cold. Jessica wasn't just hiding Leo from him. She was planning to make him disappear permanently from the state. Her plan was much more sinister than he had imagined. The revelation about Jessica's proposal left the cabin's atmosphere charged with tension. Ethan felt his blood run cold as he realized his ex-wife had not only manipulated the judicial system, but was willing to make Leo completely disappear from his life. Her plan was far more elaborate and cruel than he had ever imagined. "How much money did she offer you?" Ethan asked, trying to keep his voice controlled in front of the children. $50,000, Eleanor replied, drying her eyes with a cloth handkerchief. She said it was an inheritance she was going to receive, and that she wanted to ensure the boy grew up far away from you. She asked me to take him to another state, to a small town in the countryside where no one would know us. Leo approached Ethan, gripping his small hand tightly. "Daddy, I don't want to go far away. I want to stay here with you and with Grandma, Eleanor, and with Lily." The simplicity of Leo's wish contrasted sharply with the complexity of the situation the adults had created. Ethan realized that his son had developed a genuine affection for Eleanor and Lily during the weeks he had spent in the cabin, and this further complicated an already delicate situation. "Mrs. Vance, did you accept her proposal?" Ethan asked, though the fact that Leo was still there made him suspect the answer. "I couldn't," she admitted, shaking her head. "As much as $50,000 would completely change our lives. Something in the way she spoke bothered me. And the boy, he cries your name at night, Daddy. He draws you constantly. A mother who truly loves her son wouldn't try to completely erase the father from his life." Lily, who had remained quiet observing the adults' conversation, suddenly spoke up. "Grandma, the bad woman came back last night too. I saw her talking to you in the yard. She was angry." Eleanor looked at her granddaughter in surprise. "Lily, you were supposed to be asleep. You weren't supposed to see that." "But I saw," Lily insisted, crossing her little arms. "She yelled at you and said ugly words. She said if you didn't take Leo away by tomorrow, bad things would happen." Ethan felt the urgency of the situation increase exponentially. "What kind of bad things did she mention?" Eleanor hesitated, clearly reluctant to speak in front of the children. She threatened to call social services to say that I had kidnapped the boy. She said I would end up in jail and that Lily would end up in an orphanage again." The cruelty of Jessica's blackmail nauseated Ethan. She was not only using Leo as a pawn in her sadistic game, but was also threatening to destroy the life of an elderly woman and a 4-year-old girl who had nothing to do with her personal conflicts. "That's not going to happen," Ethan said firmly. "I can prove that Jessica voluntarily handed Leo over to you. I can prove that she lied in court and that she's trying to blackmail you now." At that moment, Leo began to cough violently, a dry cough that seemed to come from deep in his chest. Eleanor immediately stood up, concerned, and ran to get a glass of water. He's been like this for 2 days, she explained, stroking Leo's back as he took small sips. It started as a simple cold, but it's getting worse. I wanted to take him to the doctor, but I was afraid to leave the property with him. Ethan examined his son with the eyes of an experienced father. Leo's skin was slightly flushed, and he seemed to have a low-grade fever. More concerning was the slightly wheezy breathing between coughing fits. Leo has mild asthma, Ethan explained to Eleanor. He needs a specific medication when the symptoms get worse. It's at home, in our apartment. Asthma, Eleanor repeated, alarmed. His mother never mentioned that. She didn't leave any medicine, no medical instructions. More evidence of Jessica's negligence. She had handed her son over to a stranger without providing basic information about his health, putting Leo in real danger. I need to get his medicine now, Ethan said, standing up. Without the proper treatment, the attack can get worse quickly. I'm going with you, Daddy, said Leo, trying to stand up too. No, son. You need to rest. I'll get your medicine and be back quickly. What if the bad woman is waiting there? Asked Lily, concerned. The girl's question made Ethan pause. It was possible that Jessica was watching his apartment, waiting for him to show up, but the risk to Leo's health was more important than his own safety. I'll be careful, he promised. Eleanor, can you take care of him while I'm gone? Of course, she replied without hesitation. But what if his mother shows up here while you're away? The possibility was real and terrifying. If Jessica arrived at the cabin and found only Eleanor and the children, she could easily take Leo away by force. We all have to leave, Ethan decided. It's too risky to leave you alone. Eleanor, do you have a safe place where we can stay until we sort this out? Eleanor thought for a moment. I have a sister who lives in Silver Creek, about 40 kilometers from here. She has a large, isolated house. Jessica wouldn't know where to find us. Perfect. We'll get Leo's medicine and then go there, said Ethan. As they packed a few basic things for the trip, Lily pulled Ethan to a corner of the cabin. Mister, can I ask you something? Of course, Lily. If you get Leo back, will you still let me and Grandma Eleanor visit him? She likes him a lot, you know, and he likes her too. The question touched Ethan's heart deeply. The 4-year-old girl was concerned not only with her own potential loss, but with the pain her grandmother would feel if she were abruptly separated from Leo. Lily, you two have become Leo's family these past weeks, real family. Even when we sort all this out, you will always be welcome in our lives, Ethan promised, crouching down to her level. Lily's face lit up with a genuine smile, the first Ethan had seen since he met her. 30 minutes later, the 4 of them were in Ethan's car, heading first to his apartment in Riverwood. Leo was in the back seat between Eleanor and Lily, his cough gradually worsening. Ethan drove with controlled haste, torn between medical urgency and the need to be cautious. When they arrived at the building where Ethan lived, he parked on a side street and watched the place for a few minutes, looking for signs that Jessica or someone on her behalf was watching. Everything seemed normal. I'm going to run up and get the medicine and some clothes for Leo, he said. You all stay here with the doors locked. If you see any suspicious movement, honk 3 times and I'll come running down. The apartment was exactly as Ethan had left it that morning, but now it seemed to belong to another life. He took Leo's medicine from the bathroom cabinet, some clean clothes, and almost as a reflex, the laptop where he kept all the evidence he had collected against Jessica during the custody process. As he was coming down the stairs, his phone rang. Jessica's name appeared on the screen, making his heart race. Ethan, where are you? Her voice sounded tense, controlled. At home. Why? I need to talk to you. It's about Leo. Some things have happened, complications you need to know about. Ethan almost laughed at the irony. What kind of complications, Jessica? I can't talk on the phone. Come to my house now. It's urgent. I'm busy right now, Ethan replied, leaving the building and walking towards the car. Ethan, I'm serious. If you don't come here in an hour, I'm going to do something you'll regret for the rest of your life. The veiled threat in Jessica's voice confirmed Ethan's worst suspicions. She knew he had found Leo and was desperate to regain control of the situation. Jessica, if you lay a finger on our son... Our son? She interrupted, laughing bitterly. You have no idea where he is, Ethan. But I do. And if you don't come here now, he will disappear in a way that not even all your determination will be able to find him again. The call was cut, leaving Ethan with the phone in his hand and the terrible certainty that Jessica was planning something desperate. He ran to the car, where he found Leo having another coughing fit, stronger than the last. "Daddy, my chest hurts," Leo murmured, clinging to Eleanor. Ethan quickly administered the medicine, watching with relief as his son's breathing began to normalize. But now he faced a dilemma. Go to meet Jessica and possibly fall into a trap, or flee with the children and Eleanor, risking his ex-wife carrying out her dark threats. "Eleanor, I think Jessica found out we found Leo," he said, starting the car. "We need to get to your sister's house as quickly as possible." As he drove out of Riverwood towards Silver Creek, Ethan couldn't imagine that Jessica was already on her way to the Thompson farm with 2 men she had hired, determined to retrieve Leo at any cost and eliminate all witnesses to her crimes. The trip to Silver Creek was tense and silent, broken only by Leo's coughing fits, which, thankfully, had lessened after the medication. Eleanor gave directions, while Lily held Leo's hand, whispering children's stories to distract him. Ethan drove with his eyes constantly checking the rearview mirror, expecting at any moment to see a car following them. Eleanor's sister's house, belonging to Martha Vance, was an old farmhouse at the end of a dirt road surrounded by coffee plantations. Martha, a 72-year-old woman with completely white hair and kind eyes, received the group without asking questions, showing only motherly concern when she saw Leo's condition. "Eleanor called me and explained the situation," Martha said, preparing chamomile tea for everyone. "This house has sheltered many needy souls over the years. You are safe here." During the first night at the farm, while the children slept in one of the guest rooms, Ethan was finally able to show Eleanor all the evidence he had collected against Jessica. Photographs of the online betting accounts, bank statements showing huge losses in games, text messages where she admitted to neglecting Leo to gamble, and even audio recordings where she blackmailed neighbors to support her false testimony. "My God," Eleanor murmured, examining the documents on Ethan's laptop. "How could I have been so naive? She completely fooled me. She exploited your kindness and your pain from losing your grandson," Ethan said gently. "Anyone with a good heart would have done the same thing you did." The next morning, Ethan made a brave decision. Instead of continuing to run from Jessica, he called her and arranged a meeting in the central square of Silver Creek, a public place where she wouldn't dare do anything violent, but this time he wouldn't go alone. "Eleanor, I need you to come with me to this meeting," he said. "Jessica needs to know that you've discovered her lies and that you're willing to testify to the truth." "I'm going too," said Lily, appearing in the room with her characteristic determination. "I heard the ugly things she said to Grandma. I can tell everyone." Ethan smiled for the first time in days. "Lily, you are very brave, but this is a matter for adults. Leo is my friend," she insisted, "and Grandma Eleanor is my family. I want to help." 2 hours later, Ethan was sitting on a park bench when he saw Jessica approaching. She was visibly tense, her hair disheveled, and her red eyes indicating a sleepless night. When she saw Eleanor sitting next to Ethan, her face contorted with anger. "What is she doing here?" Jessica asked, stopping a few feet away. "Eleanor has some questions for you," Ethan said calmly. Eleanor stood up, her posture dignified despite her advanced age. "Jessica, why did you lie to me about Ethan? Why did you say he hit you when that never happened?" "I didn't lie about anything," Jessica retorted, but her voice trembled slightly. "He's dangerous. You saw how he broke into your house. He didn't break in. A 4-year-old girl brought him there because she couldn't stand to see his suffering," said Eleanor. "And I've seen the evidence, Jessica. I know about your gambling addictions, about the lies you told in court." Jessica looked around nervously, realizing that other people in the square were starting to pay attention to the conversation. "Where is my son? I want him back now. Leo is safe and well cared for," Ethan replied. "But I'm not giving him back to a mother who lied about his health, who hid him to blackmail other people, and who was planning to make him disappear permanently." "You have no proof of any of that," Jessica said, but her voice was losing conviction. It was then that Lily stepped out from behind a nearby tree, walking determinedly towards the group of adults. Martha had tried to keep her at the farm, but the girl had insisted so much that the elderly woman had eventually given in and brought her in secret. "I do," said Lily in her small but firm voice. "I heard when you offered money for Grandma Eleanor to take Leo far away. I heard when you said you'd put Grandma in jail if she didn't obey." Jessica turned pale when she saw Lily. "A 4-year-old is not a credible witness. Perhaps not in court," said a voice behind Jessica, "but she's enough to convince Child Protective Services that you are not fit to care for a child." Everyone turned to see who had spoken. It was Dr. Robert Mendez, Ethan's lawyer, accompanied by Anna Beatty, the social worker, who had appeared in the original story as someone interested in protecting children. "Dr. Mendez," said Ethan, surprised. "How did you know we were here? You sent me your location by text last night, remember? And I brought Anna because she needs to hear Eleanor's testimony in person." Anna approached the group, her expression serious but compassionate. "Jessica Miller, based on the evidence presented and the testimonies collected, I am recommending an immediate review of Leo Miller's custody. Child Protective Services will investigate the accusations of neglect and judicial manipulation." Jessica tried one last desperate gambit. "You don't understand. I just wanted to protect my son. Ethan he's..." "What is he, Jessica?" Eleanor interrupted. "A man who loves his son so much that he spent weeks searching for him. A father who knows the specific medications Leo needs while you handed him over to me without even mentioning he has asthma." Eleanor's accusation was the final blow. Jessica sat down heavily on a bench, her hands covering her face. "I ruined everything," she murmured. "The gambling. I couldn't stop. I lost so much money. I thought if I could keep custody, I could sell our house and pay off the debts." The spontaneous confession left everyone in silence. Finally, Jessica's true motivation was clear. It wasn't motherly love or fear of domestic violence, but financial desperation caused by her gambling addiction. "Jessica," said Anna gently, "you need help. Gambling addiction is a serious illness, but it's treatable. If you commit to a recovery program, perhaps in the future, you can have supervised visits with Leo." 3 months later, life had taken a completely different turn for everyone involved. Ethan had regained full custody of Leo after a hearing where Eleanor bravely testified about Jessica's manipulations. But the big surprise came when he decided to formalize something that had already grown in his heart. "Eleanor," he said one afternoon, as they watched Leo and Lily playing in the yard of Martha's farm, "I'd like to talk to you about adoption." "Adoption?" Eleanor repeated, confused. "Of Lily. If you agree, I'd like to officially adopt her. Leo considers her a sister, and I consider her a daughter." Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. "You would do that? Even after everything that happened?" Especially because of everything that happened, said Ethan. Lily brought us back to each other, and you've become the grandmother that Leo and Lily deserve to have. The adoption process was surprisingly simple, as Lily had no other known relatives, and Eleanor fully supported the decision. Jessica, who was in a rehabilitation program for gambling addicts, also signed the papers without contesting. 6 months after that first rainy encounter, Ethan was in his new house, a larger home he had bought to accommodate his expanded family. Leo ran through the yard chasing Lily, both laughing loudly. Eleanor was in the kitchen preparing Sunday lunch, humming a song that made the whole house feel more welcoming. "Daddy," said Leo. Running up to Ethan with Lily behind him, Grandma Eleanor said, "We can plant a garden in the yard. Can I?" "Of course you can, son. This is our home, for all of us." Lily pulled on the hem of Ethan's shirt. "Daddy Ethan, can I ask you something?" He crouched down to her level. Even after months, he still got emotional every time Lily called him Daddy. "Of course, Princess. Do you think Mommy Jessica will get better?" The question showed Lily's surprising emotional maturity. Even as just a child, she understood that Jessica was sick, not evil. "I hope so, Lily. And when she gets better, if she wants to, you can get to know each other better. And will Grandma Eleanor keep living with us forever?" "Forever," Ethan promised, looking through the kitchen window where Eleanor was watching him with a motherly smile. That night, after the children had fallen asleep, Ethan and Eleanor sat on the porch, drinking tea and talking about the day. "You know what impresses me most about this whole story?" said Eleanor, rocking gently in the rocking chair Ethan had installed especially for her. "What? How a lie meant to destroy a family ended up creating an even bigger and stronger one." Ethan smiled, looking at the stars in the clear country sky. "Maybe things happen for a reason we don't understand at the time. Or maybe," said Eleanor, "love always finds a way to win, even when all seems lost." Inside the house, Leo stirred in his bed and murmured, "Daddy," in his dreams. In the next room, Lily slept clutching the teddy bear Ethan had bought for her, a small smile lighting up her little face. And in the kitchen, stuck to the refrigerator, was a drawing she had made of the new family, 4 people holding hands under a bright yellow sun. The storm had passed, and what was left was more beautiful than any of them could have imagined when it all began with a rain-soaked girl knocking on the door of a desperate man, searching for his lost son. If you liked this video, please subscribe to my channel. I promise to bring you videos every day that will make your life happier. Comment what you thought of my story with a rating from 0 to 10, and thank you very much.